If you have regret, regret can be a powerful thing that you carry with you, that you can carry a long time, that you can carry, and it can drive you to the ground. It can drive you to places that you don't want to drive. People can carry regret and they can hold regret deep in their heart and they can cherish regret and they can say regret is the thing that they need to keep on going. It can fuel their worst life. It can fuel their better life too. But it can fuel a life that doesn't need to be fueled if it's a life that they want to not have regret about. Regret is something that you don't need to have if you're someone who has regret, because regret is something that doesn't need to be held tight to your chest, because it isn't something that you need to hold tight to anyone's chest. You don't need to hold someone to their regret if the regret is something that they have because of you. And if you have regret because of them, then you don't need to have regret at all. Because regret is something that you can let go. You can something that you can forgive yourself first and then forgive the other for making you hold on to regret for their sake or for their reasons that they think are the reasons that you need regret to hold on to. People can make those mistakes and they can make them harsh and they can make them all their lives and they can hold on to them and they can carry them steep and they can carry them deep and they can carry them in ways that they shouldn't carry them, because when people carry those kinds of things inside, there are things that people hide about the reason that regret exists in their lives at all. Regret of this kind is the kind of regret that we don't need, because we don't have to have regret of that kind to have people in our lives in order to have the regret that holds our relationships together. Regret can be the glue that holds us together by knowing that regret is something that we have in common. But the commonness of regret is the thing that we don't have to have, because regret is something that we don't need to share with each other if regret is something that we don't care about sharing with anybody else. Regret can make us less. It can make us be something that we don't want to be. It can make us into something that we don't want to ever be. It can make us less because it can make us feel that we can't accomplish things, that we can't make things happen because we have that limit of what regret limits us to. Regret can make us think that we can't do something simply because when we have regret, it's a limiter in telling us that we're not able or we're not worthy of doing something of a degree that reflects something that may be a reflection of what that regret stems from. And if you're someone who has regret and someone who holds on to regret, you can have regret for a long time, but you can let it go by telling yourself that regret isn't something that you need to have. It isn't something that you need to hold, and it isn't something that you need to hide. Because when regret is something that's easy to let go of, because when you're someone who has it, you're someone who can let it go too. You're not beholden to anyone for regret because someone makes you have it. You have it simply because you hold it for them. They're the ones who feed it. They're the ones who fuel it. They're the ones who remind you about it. But if you just let it go, you're the one who's free of it. They're the ones who still have it, and they're the ones whose life is less because of it. Because when they're the ones who remind you of it, then they're the ones who hold on to something that only one person needs to hold on to. You don't need to carry it as a team. You don't need to do it for them ever. You don't need to be something that you're beholden to them, because when you're beholden to someone, you're beholden to them because you owe them something. If you owe them that regret, then that's regret that's selfish on their part to make you beholden to. And if you want to be beholden to them, then don't be. Because if they're the ones who make you feel regretful, then you're the one who can let it go. And you're the one who's free to do so, because you're the one who doesn't need to hold it. You never have to hold regret because someone makes you hold it. You don't need to be regretful because someone makes you have regret. But you don't need to be regretful too when regret is something that you need. Regret can be something that helps you to live past a certain thing that you don't need to hold on to anymore. Because regret is an acknowledgement that you did something wrong. And the regret can linger, but it doesn't need to be something that is a permanent part of who you are. It can be something that you let go down the road simply because it lessens itself, because there isn't someone there except for you to remind yourself that it's there, that it's an action that caused it, that it's a thing that you did, that's a thing that you were a part of, or a thing that you didn't mean to happen, that now can be less in the rear view because it's distant in your rear view and you're less feeling about the regret because you don't feel it as much. Time does heal those kinds of wounds, and those wounds can be the things that need time to heal. But if you're someone who holds on to it in the present and you get fueled by someone else who fuels it for you, you're damaging yourself by letting them damage you. You don't need to carry their shame. You don't need to carry their blame, and you don't need to carry their ire. Their ire is the thing that they don't need to give to you, because when they're angry at you and that anger reminds you of the thing that causes regret or shame that you were a part of with them, that caused them to say you need to regret this because it's wrong to not regret it, then you're the one that holds a value in something that is their value. But if you're above that value and you think your value is better, whether you look at the thing that you did together or didn't do together, or did whatever, it's the thing that you need to decide if your values are more important. If your values lead with love and truth, then you're the one who can lead with love and truth into different direction. You can lead in a direction that doesn't have love and truth as a thing that is the exception, but it's more of the rule. It's a rule that you can follow. It's a rule that you can carry, but it's a rule that you can have to share with other people. Love and regret is not something that you have to carry side by side, but one can heal the other and the other can hurt the other. If you're someone who has regret but doesn't need regret, and another one that has regret for someone else says regret for you, then you're someone who can let that go easily and freely because you only need to tell yourself that you don't need to hold on to it. Regret is something that can be powerful and it can hurt people and it can hurt yourself and it can hold you back and it make your life less by not letting you live a greater life, by not letting you believe in yourself because that shame and that regret holds you back. It makes you small in the way that you make choices, and the choices that you make may not be as bold simply because you feel more timid about life and the way that you're reflected in life. And if you're someone who doesn't want to be regretful and be small, then you're someone who can let that go and see how much bigger and bolder you can be in the choices that you make. You can take chances in your life and you can live outside the box and you can take chances way outside the box. And that's a place where there's gold for you to find too. Because if you've been inhibited by regret, there's a whole big world for you to explore that's outside of a box that you didn't know you didn't have to stay in. You didn't have to stay in it. And if you want to stay in it, don't. If you want to leave it, look at the world around you once you leave it. It's a big world, and it's a world that you can make a difference in by being a different person in that world and being a better person in that world that doesn't share regret and the power of regret. People can sometimes say regret is an important thing for people to hold simply because they need to hold it so they can feel the punishment of what regret makes them feel. But when we don't need to punish ourselves anymore over something that time does heal, you can let it go and you can live freer. And outside the box is a big, beautiful world without regret, without shame, and without you living a lesser life and you discovering that a bigger life is possible for you to exist and to go after and to live. So, good luck with regret. Don't hold on to it and let it go if you can. Don't hurt anybody, don't hurt yourself, and lead with love and truth, and your life will be great. Guaranteed.